go. And we're doing the exact same thing. So we're laying our steak down one piece at a time. And we're getting the same exact sear. So we're going to do this again for another 2 minutes, making sure that we have a good solid sear on both sides here. Oops. Alright, and just like, yeah, I just restarted the YouTube channel, so hopefully it's going again. I didn't notice that it had crashed until very recently, so sorry about that. So, just like our first sear, we're going to do that for another 2 minutes. We're going to let that go until we have a nice crispy side on that steak. Cool. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. Yeah, so I think we got the YouTube stream back up and running. So if you're looking for it over on YouTube, that's where it's at. Okay, so just like our first sear, we're going to let that go for another 2 minutes, and then we're going to pull it out, and then we're going to start our wok fry from there. So super, super important, though, at this point, is remember that that steak is covered in cornstarch. So cornstarch, if you've ever done a wok fry before, is the very same stuff that we use to thicken up sauces. So when we're trying to create like thick and luxurious sauces, we'll add like maybe a tablespoon or 2 of cornstarch. But that steak is covered in probably close to a half a cup of cornstarch at this point. So if you try and toss the wok at this point, all of that cornstarch is going to come off, and then it's going to go into your stir fry, and you're going to essentially be adding half a cup of cornstarch to your stir fry, which is terrible. So middle fingers, yeah. Be very careful. If you're smart, use tongs. I didn't care. But yeah, definitely, if you're smart, probably you should be using tongs. Don't do what I did. All right. There we go. Cool. Alright, and just like our first sear, we're going to let that go for another minute on the second side, just to make sure that we lock in all of that juice and really get a solid sear going there. Yeah. Namesake, yeah. Very nice, how much. Good username. Yeah, the namesake of this channel comes from a cooking show that was run by Martin Yan, which was called Yan Can Cook. I believe Yan Can Cook is still doing stuff. I don't think that show exists anymore. Yan Can Cook is gone. But Martin Yan, though, is still around doing stuff. I think like the really popular thing that he's going right now is he has a line of frozen foods that are out in Costco. I follow him on Instagram, that's why I know all this stuff. But yeah, he's still around and he's still doing stuff. He's the big namesake and the big inspiration of this channel. And I used to watch him when we were kids, and like he always had this like really goofy look on his face, and like would chop crazy fast with his giant cleaver. Yeah, used to watch him when I was a kid all the time. All right. So I'm pulling our steak out one more time, and here's our finished steak. We can take a nice close look with our macro lens, which is fun. We have all of this nice crisped up pieces of steak, so this is really useful. Essentially, we would refer to this as a par cook, I guess. And that par cook is going to lock in all of those nice flavors that we've done with our marinade. So. So if you want, you could even stop right now and you could even eat this. This is going to be really tasteful on its own. You could just eat this, and that would essentially be what a skewer is this. This is a really, really tasty bit of piece of steak right here. But what we're going to do instead is cook this in our wok fry. But the last thing that we want to do, and I have been holding off on doing this because I like to leave my chow fun for the very, very end, is we're going to prep our chow fun. So if you've watched these streams before, you'll know, you'll have heard me say this before, but never, ever, ever just throw blocks and a whole chunk of chow fun into your wok fry. So I have definitely said this on more streams than I can remember. For sure, every time that I have done Pad See Ew, I say this, is that chow fun is very perishable. It is stupid perishable. So I happen to have had the opportunity, and I actually got some very, very fresh chow fun from the market, literally like 3 hours ago. So this chow fun is super, super fresh, and you could tell because when we pick the noodles up, it's not cracking in any way. So this is really, really nice, super fresh chow fun. So when I pick it up, you'll notice that the noodles, they're not breaking in any way. If this was stale, it would have started to fracture already. So that means that it's really, really fresh, so we're not going to have any problems with it. But if your chow fun is even a little bit stale, it will start going within like 12 hours after you get it from the market. You will have all kinds of problems. So in order to make sure that it's not going to stick together, what I usually like to do, and this actually serves a couple of purposes, but what I usually like to do is give it a little bit of a rinse first. So what we're going to do is, so I'm going to add this to my bowl, and the first thing that I want to do is just break it up, make sure that this stuff isn't going to stick together, and that we have nice, like, separated bits of noodles. So I'm just making sure that we don't like have clumpy bits of noodle going on here. And usually what I would do, especially if it was a little bit stale, is I would probably rinse this in some water. Today I'm not going to do that because I'm feeling pretty confident that these noodles are not going to stick together. But very, very often you will see me, especially if my chow fun is frozen, which lots of times I'm working with frozen chow fun, because I probably pulled it out of my icebox because it was like leftover from the last time I made Pad See Ew. So I will probably either soak it in some water just to make sure that stuff doesn't stick together, or sometimes when it's really stale, and this is actually, I think, is what happened when I did the original recipe video for this chow fun, is that it will like it's not going to work at all. Sometimes it will, if it's really stale, it's just not going to happen. And when you try and do what we're doing right now, it will probably just like crumble, and you're going to have like fractured pieces of noodle, which is just the worst. And that has probably happened to me 5-6 times now, like, which is super, super frustrating, because if you're making something that calls for chow fun and you don't have chow fun, you pretty much can't make what you're making. So my favorite hack, though, that has worked for me pretty consistently, is if you do notice that your chow fun is particularly stale and it's not cooperating, is throw it into the microwave for usually about a minute, maybe a minute and a half, and then it will kind of loosen things up just long enough so that it will loosen things up, and then you'll be able to break it apart. So all we really need to do is have our chow fun be a little bit loose enough so that once it gets into the wok, it will start breaking apart. So once it's in the wok and it starts heating up, you're not going to have issues with staleness, because once it starts cooking, it's going to be okay. But the problem is that before it starts cooking, we really need it to start separating into noodles. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of problems, and you're going to have essentially like a block of beef chow fun, which is not what we're after. So, if you do notice that your chow fun is gotten really, really stale and it's not cooperating, throw it in the microwave, and that will solve your problems real quick. Yeah. Oh, you used to watch it with with your mom. Cool. Yeah. If Yan can cook, so can you. Same. I had the exact same childhood experience. I feel like lots of Asian kids do. With Martin Yan and also Ming Tsai, who simply had a show called Simply Ming, and I think both of those shows were on TBS. Hermina, yeah, thank you for coming back. Sorry, the YouTube channel, YouTube stream crashed. The laptop behind me, it just crapped out, so I had to restart everything. Cool. So That's our Chow Fun. We have our Chow Fun all ready to go. I'm reheating my wok right now. We're going to let that thing get ripping hot one more time. And then we're going to finish up our wok fry. So you will notice that once we start that wok fry element, pretty much everything is going to come together within like 5 minutes. So what we've been streaming for, coming up on 45 minutes. The rest of this stream is going to happen maybe 10 minutes, and most of that's probably because I'm going to be talking. So you will notice that wok frying, the frying part of wok frying, is very, very quick because the wok is so hot. So unlike other things like pastas or like Italian cooking, things that require slow cooks, some of those things, especially like anytime that you're working with like caramelizing onions, for example, that will take like 10 minutes or more. With a wok fry, the cooking part of wok frying is very, very quick because the heat is so hot. So that means super important before you start cooking, everything has to be prepped. So if we tried to do our wok fry before we finished separating these noodles, and I was sitting here trying to separate these noodles while things were in the wok, we probably would have burned something. So very important, before things get into that wok, have everything ready to go so that you don't run the risk of burning anything. Cool. Yeah. Cool. While that heats up, I'll introduce myself one more time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. My name is Wesley. This is Woo Can Cook. If this is your first time catching one of these streams, we're here every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 6:30 PST. The reason that we don't stream on Wednesdays anymore is because I recently started cooking things for Chef. So actually, if you've been watching these streams and you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, you can now order all of the things that I cook on stream. Yeah, if you happen to live in the area, hop over to chef.com and find me on chef.com, shef.com. And you can pretty much definitely buy all of the fried rices, and it will be delivered to you, which is super cool. Super stoked for that. Yeah, if you're watching on Reddit, every Friday there's also a new YouTube video that comes out. So every Friday we have recipe videos. What we're doing is cooking through last Friday's recipe video right now. So last Friday we came out with Beef Chow Fun. Today we're cooking the Beef Chow Fun, and kind of walking through all of the things that happen in that recipe video. So yeah, rolling hot wok for sure. Yeah, so if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, definitely check what's going on out over there. Lots of fun content coming up. Next Friday is going to be egg foo young, which is going to be super fun because I learned a lot about egg foo young that I did not know before. So we're going to be taking a look at that and kind of discovering why actually egg foo young in America does not look like what egg foo young is actually supposed to look like. So that's coming out this Friday. Last Friday was Beef Chow Fun. Friday before that was Japanese chicken katsu. Lots of fun stuff coming up on the channel. So if you haven't checked out those recipes, definitely hop over and see what's going on. We're working our way to, what are we doing? 3,500 subscribers by the end of April. So if you want to help us hit that goal, hop over and check out what's going on. We were working our way to 2,700 by the end of the month, but we already hit it. So you guys are too cool. All right, so we're going to do one more long yao here. This is my peanut oil going in one more time. And then we're going to do one more long yao. I got a little bit more oil here. We're looking for that should be about 4 tablespoons or third cup, quarter cup I think, of peanut oil here. And then starting off with our aromatic. So that's my garlic and my ginger. And we're going to let those go for just long enough until they're fragrant. So usually that's about 10-15 seconds for me. But use your nose at this point. When you start smelling garlic and ginger, that's when you know you're ready to move on. Next up going in is our bok choy, which, as I mentioned earlier, it should be pretty dry at this point. If your bok choy is still wet, make sure that you give it a good shake and rinse to make sure that you're not introducing too much water to this broth here, as you might be doing. At this point, if you do start introducing water to that wok, what's going to happen is that the temperature of the wok is going to start dropping very quickly. So, and we're definitely at the point where in a wok fry, we need as much heat as possible going on. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a mushy stir fry, which is a real bad situation to be in. Am I related to Yan Can Cook? No, he's just my hero. Martin Yan is my big inspiration. No relation, though. All right, so that's our bok choy. We're not going to give too much time on that cook. just long enough to sort of get some of that rawness cooked out of the bok choy. But we do want that to be mostly crunchy. And that's my bean sprouts going in second. I'm not going to give very much time at all to those bean sprouts. I'm pretty much just going to immediately move on because I don't really want to cook very much rawness out of those bean sprouts. I am of the opinion when I eat a bean sprout, I like it to be mostly raw. But if you don't like crunchy bean sprouts, definitely give that a little bit more time in the wok fry. So to that end though, that's my steak going in, followed by my Chow Fun noodles. And at this point, we can take a listen. You'll notice that as soon as I drop everything into the wok, there is no heat left going on. So you'll notice all of my sizzling just disappeared. So if you're still cooking and you hear that happen, that's a real bad sign. It means that you're on your way to a super mushy stir fry. In our case, we were very, very close to being done cooking at this point. So it's okay if you start losing heat because we're not really cooking anything anymore. We're really just combining stuff. But if you're still cooking and this happens, it's a real bad sign. And stop what you're doing. Because you're on your way to eating a mushy stir fry. All right. So at this point, super important, we just did a whole bunch of work to build this sauce out. Don't just dump the sauce in though, make sure that you are paying attention. In our case today, I think we actually need all of this sauce. But pay attention though, if you don't need all of that sauce, don't add all of the sauces. Don't feel obligated to use everything that's in that bowl. Sometimes I use all of it, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on like how much vegetables, how much noodles I'm using. A whole bunch of different elements that might play a role in whether or not we need all of that sauce. And last thing that I'm doing is I'm just going to loosen this up with a little bit of water. I'd like to get a little bit more looseness to our wok fry before we pull it out. So you can listen real close. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this over the voiceover. But there's still a little sizzling going on. But for the most part, it's not nearly as aggressive of a sizzle as it was when we were first starting to put together this our wok fry. So super important is that if you notice that happening while you're still cooking, that's a real bad problem. But for our purpose right now, that's totally fine because there's not much else to cook left. But we do want to make sure is while we're still like cooking our bok choy and cooking our bean sprouts and flash cooking our aromatics, all of those things, we want to make sure that that wok is still ripping hot. So if you notice it happen before you're finished cooking, you're in a real bad spot. All right. So the very last thing that we want to do, and I say this at the end of almost every stir fry lately, is clean our wok. So super important. When you're done cooking, especially if you're working with a carbon steel wok or a cast iron wok too, is while the wok is hot, still has lots of non-stick properties about it. So we can give it a rinse. That's all I really did just now, is I rinsed it down in the sink, and you'll know it's completely clean. There's not really anything left behind except maybe a little bit of water and a little bit of oil. If you stop what you're doing and try and eat before you finish cleaning your wok, which is super tempting to do because there's food to eat in front of you, what you're going to end up with is a wok that has a lot of stuff stuck to it, which is a real bad situation because you're probably going to end up damaging the wok. So before you finish cooking, the last thing that you want to do is give it a clean. So I gave it a wipe down. Then I'm adding a little bit more oil back to the wok, giving it a coat just like you would do with a cast iron pan. Coating all of the surfaces, especially the bottom, and that's going to prevent it from rusting. All right. So All right, so if you're like a stickler for food presentation, I will say is that there's no real good way of presenting chow fun because it's basically just a slop of noodles. So right off the bat, I will tell you, clean the rims of your bowls, but other than that, not really a pretty way of serving this stuff. And I found that this is actually true for like a lot of like street food style Asian foods. So like a lot of Chinese street food, a lot of Taiwanese street food, Korean street food. Is that the way that a lot of those dishes are served is the way that you would serve it on the street, which means that like especially with like noodle dishes, it's pretty much just a bowl full of stir-fried stuff. So. Let's give this a taste. Ooh, yeah, that's really good. Yeah, very, very filled with flavor. That dark soy sauce is doing a lot of work. A nice, real subtle heat from that doubanjiang. If you want it really spicy, you could definitely add a little bit more, and that's really going to punch it in the face. But even with just that single bit of doubanjiang is very, very powerful. So don't overdo it on that stuff. Unless you want a very, very spicy beef chow fun, don't use more than a tablespoon or two at the most. But also that steak has this really, really nice independent flavor. I could just eat that steak and it's going to be really, really tasty. And it absolutely like solves the main problem that I have with beef chow fun is that usually when you get beef chow fun, the beef doesn't really taste like anything. It's just kind of there, and then you just eat it while you eat the really tasty part, which is the noodles, because the noodles are covered in the sauce. But that sear is doing a lot of work because it's number one, it's locking in the marinade that we soaked it in. So all of those qualities that we coated in that marinade, so that star anise pods, that brown sugar, the soy sauce, the sesame oil, all of those things are coming through really nicely because that cornstarch sear is really like capturing all of those flavors. And then the chow fun is easily one of the hardest noodles to work with. So, but I think it worked out really, really well, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were really, really fresh. So I actually managed to get fresh chow fun. So, but if you for yourself are not able to find fresh chow fun or find yourself eating stale chow fun, definitely throw it in the microwave. I swear to God, it works. I did it in the original recipe video. So if you take a look at the original recipe, I was using chow fun that I think it was maybe 2 days old. So I had bought it at the market maybe on like Thursday, and I shot the video on Saturday, something like that. And it was fully stale. Like it was not cooperating at all. And I microwaved it for like a minute and a half, and it made it loose enough where I could separate the noodles before starting the wok fry. And then once the noodles were in the wok fry, it doesn't matter if they're stale anymore because you're starting to cook them. They just need to be loose enough where you can separate the noodles before you start cooking them. So, but yeah, chow fun, one of my favorite noodles. This is easily one of my favorite noodle dishes of all time. So, really, really classic. Comes up in a lot of American food. Like a lot of Chinese American food, so it's one of the really, really classic noodle dishes that you'll see come up all over like Chinese American food. So, yeah, if you haven't yet, definitely hop over to the YouTube channel and find the recipe video. It's a pretty easy one to follow. I think I have a link for it. Yeah, for the recipe. Here's the recipe, which is really easy, super easy to follow. If you're like me. What I always thought is that beef chow fun is a pretty tricky one because it involves the use of steak, which means that we have to par cook that steak in really weird or difficult ways. But if you're like me, what I found out is that it's actually not that hard. It's basically just a wok fry that with a single extra step. And so, if you haven't tried it yet, definitely give it a shot. All that stuff, it lives over on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't found your way to the YouTube channel yet, definitely go and find that stuff. There's new recipes that are coming out every Friday, so this Chow Fun recipe came out last Friday. We have a couple of series that are in progress. There's a fun one that we've been doing where I've been like reproducing a lot of Asian American classics. So a lot of things from like places like Panda Express and PF Chang's, like General Tso's chicken, honey sesame chicken, stuff like that. Stuff that comes from really, really iconic Americanized Chinese food. Kind of taking a look at what those dishes would look like if we were to try and reproduce them in the lens of traditional Chinese wok cooking, which is really interesting with some of those dishes because a lot of those things don't come from Chinese food at all. Like General Tso's chicken is just American fried chicken. So if you try and cook it in the lens of traditional Chinese cooking, it looks really interesting because it's probably like a General Tso's chicken that you've never had before. And I think the original General Tso's chicken recipe that I had done I think it used black bean sauce, which is, I've never seen that happen in Chinese American food. So stuff like that all lives over on the YouTube channel. So if you're interested in stuff like that, definitely hop over and check out what's going on over there. We're working our way to 3,500 subs by the end of the month, or by the end of April. So if you want to help us hit the subscriber goal, definitely hop over and check it out. Don't subscribe if you're not interested. I don't know why people subscribe when they're not interested. Why are you doing that? Let's see what we're cooking tomorrow. I believe we're doing some kind of stir fry. I think we're doing kung pao chicken tomorrow. I might be wrong about that. I think we're doing hot and sour soup. We're cooking some soup tomorrow. So because I thought it would be colder than it actually is, but we're in the middle of a weird heat wave right now. So anyway, if you haven't checked that stuff out, definitely go out and check it out. Otherwise, we'll be back here tomorrow at 6:30 PST doing hot and sour soup. So cool. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I probably missed something. So if you have any questions and I didn't answer them, feel free and repeat them in the chat, and I'll do my best to circle back to everyone. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you soon. Oh, the last thing I'll mention, lots of people have been looking for the music lately. That all lives over on my Spotify account, which is called Woo Cooks Beats. There's also a YouTube channel, which is called Woo Cooks Beats. So if you're looking for the beats, I'll drop a link for it. Pretty much everything that you hear is published over on Woo Cooks Beats. Just that. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. Your bed warm, glass of brandy. Darling, I'll stay stoned on your love all the time.
Talk slow. If you come over and start up a conversation with just me, then trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop, put Ben the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. Now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Said, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. And last night you were in my room. Now my bed sheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you.
One weekend we let the story begin. We're going out on our first date. You and me are thrifty, so go all you can eat. Fill up your bag and I fill up a plate. We talk for hours and hours about the sweet and the sour and how your family is doing okay. We'll even get in a taxi. We'll kiss in the backseat. Tell the driver make the radio play. Now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. You said, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. And last night you were in my room. And now my bed sheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? I'm in love with your body. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you.
Come on, be my baby, come on. 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 Come on, be my baby, come on.
Come on, be my baby, come on.